President Keyes sits, alone, in the Oval Office, staring down the red rotary phone on the desk before him. The sun is low, and the lights are dimmed, and the wisps of Mikhail's cigar smoke seem almost highlighted in the gloom as they dance around the ceiling. It had been nearly half an hour since he'd dismissed his intelligence advisor, 3 hours since he'd sent a pair of the few remaining American F 35s in Europe screaming across the mainland for the first time in over a year, and nearly 90 minutes since those F 35s had leveled a small Russian Remnant village on the outskirts of what was once Belarus. The phone calls had been pouring in, leaders from across Europe with all the questions you'd expect. Are the Americans using jet aircraft again? What was the target? Why now? Mikhail had kept him updated for the first hour or so, but Keyes' attention was clearly elsewhere, and he had given Mikhail his leave when the man had prompted him. The gesture was appreciated, but there was one phone call in particular that he was expecting, and he knew it was coming sooner rather than later. All there was to do now was wait. The red phone buzzes, and a quiet, insistent ring comes from the base. Keyes, barely having moved in his seat, reaches out and picks up the phone in one smooth motion. President Napoleon, my condolences. Why? The voice is low, tired, but steady. You killed more French in Rome than 100 suicide bombers in Paris ever could have. Why strike on our behalf? We're strong enough to. Keyes' voice is cool, but insistent, slipping between Napoleon's words. An attack on one is an attack on all, Mr. President. That's how this works. You know that. There's a long moment of silence. Keyes' throat feels tight, but he resists the urge to clear it. Thoughts rush in, unprompted but unstoppable, to fill the silence. He finds it strange, talking to the leader that had torn NATO apart, who introduced military tribunals and secret police back into Parisian life, who declared entire groups unworthy of the rights and protections of democracy in the exact same breath that he demanded the entire nation rise to defend it. The true democracy. He wanted nothing but the worst for the man, but immediately next to that thought is another, that despite it all, he'd kept that democracy alive. With rot in its veins and carried on the backs of jackbooted thugs disappearing dissidents into the night, French democracy was still alive and fighting on the European continent. That had to count for something. It just had to. Otherwise, what was the point of any of it? This changes nothing, you know. Napoleon's voice breaks the silence once again, tense but thoughtful. Of course, the war had a momentum of its own by now. They couldn't have stopped it if they tried, not over a single strike. Another pause. Then, my thanks, President Keyes. It's heartening to know that despite our disagreements, France does not find herself standing alone against the authoritarians of the world. Never, Keyes replies firmly. I hope the recovery is smooth and that there are many survivors. Please pass my condolences along to the families of the victims. I'll personally ensure it happens. Farewell, President Keyes. Good night, Mr. President. There's a click. The phone line goes dead, and Keyes once again finds himself alone in a dim Oval Office.